Okay, so there is a massive crisis escalating in Iran right now. We're talking about a nationwide protest movement that is challenging the very foundations of the Islamic Republic. And believe me, the whole world is watching. This is the story of a fight for the future.
And things are moving incredibly fast. We're getting these shocking reports that security forces have actually been pushed out of the capital, Tehran, and other huge cities. It's just a stunning development, and it really suggests the regime might be losing its grip on power.
So, just how widespread is this loss of control? Let's really dig into what we're hearing from people on the ground.
Look, you really can't overstate how important these places are. We're not talking about some small towns out in the middle of nowhere. Security forces have reportedly lost control of Tehran, the nation's capital, and Mashhad, the second biggest city and a major holy site, and Shiraz, another massive urban center. If these reports are true, this is a gigantic blow to the regime.
You know, a move like this just signals pure panic. The supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, has put his security forces on an alert level that's even higher than it was during the recent war with Israel. So, why? Because he's terrified of defections. We've already seen videos of police officers clapping, actually supporting the protesters. I mean, they're being asked to crack down on their own neighbors. And for a lot of them, that's just a breaking point.
So, with the regular police and army looking, well, unreliable, the Ayatollah has unleashed the IRGC. Now, these are not your local cops. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is a fanatically loyal elite force. Bringing them in is a terrifying sign that the regime is gearing up for an extremely violent response.
And that leads us to the grim reality of this crackdown. With the IRGC now taking the lead, the violence has escalated dramatically. Just take a look at this number. 217. Now, this isn't a weekly total or even a nationwide figure. This is the number of deaths that just one doctor recorded across 6 hospitals he worked at in Tehran in a single night. And this doctor's quote, wow, it really brings home the human cost and confirms these are not accidental deaths. He specifically says live ammunition and just tragically notes that most of the victims were young people. This isn't crowd control. This is a slaughter.
The eyewitness reports coming out paint a picture of just systematic terror. We're hearing about machine gun fire on crowds in Tehran, a man being forced to identify his wife's body from among 200 others in Karaj. Authorities are even reportedly removing corpses from hospitals, probably to hide the real scale of the killing. It's horrific.
But even facing all this, people are fighting back, and not just with rocks, but with their phones. Just listen to this protester filming while bullets are literally flying past him. I'm filming so it can be seen. It just shows this incredible determination to document these atrocities so the world can't look away. Which brings us to a whole different kind of battlefield. You say, alongside the physical fight in the streets, there is a desperate war being fought over information. And the conflict here is crystal clear. On one side, the regime has hit the kill switch on the internet, a near total blackout. They're trying to plunge the country into darkness and commit these crimes in secret. And the protesters' counterweapon? Smuggled Starlinked satellite terminals. It's their lifeline to the outside world. And the scale of this digital resistance is just staggering. It's estimated that somewhere around 50,000, that's 50,000, Starlink terminals have been smuggled into Iran. These little devices create small Wi-Fi hotspots, and that's what's allowing videos and reports to leak out. But of course, the regime is fighting back hard in this digital war. We're now getting reports of unprecedented jamming of those Starlink signals. The tech they're using is so sophisticated that experts believe it's being supplied by Russia or China, which just shows you how seriously the regime is taking this digital front. And the scary part is, the jamming is working. Early in the day, about 30% of the traffic was disrupted, but by 10 p.m. local time, that number jumped to a devastating 80%. The regime is successfully severing the protesters' connection to the world, and that is a really worrying sign they might be getting ready for something even worse. So, what does this all mean? Where is this all heading? To really understand what's at stake here, we have to look back at Iran's recent history of defiance. You know, this isn't the first time the Iranian people have risen up. The Green Movement back in 2009, the fuel protests in 2019, the Masa Amini protests in 2022, each and every time, the movement was brutally crushed. And that history, it hangs really heavy over this moment.
But there's a new factor this time around. A very explicit warning from the United States. Former President Trump has stated that if the regime repeats the mass killings of the past, the U.S. would get involved, quote, hitting them very, very hard. This adds a whole new volatile international dimension to the crisis.
And that's really the million-dollar question, isn't it? Knowing the regime's history of brutality and seeing the violence they're using today, how can this movement possibly succeed where all the others have failed?
I mean, the imbalance of power is it's stark. On one side, you have protesters armed with rocks, their phones, and flags. And on the other, the regime has machine guns, tanks, and these ideologically driven militias. It's a true David versus Goliath situation. And failure here isn't just about going back to how things were. If this uprising is crushed, experts are warning that the regime will unleash a horrific campaign of revenge. We're talking mass arrests and executions on a scale that could dwarf anything we've ever seen before.
And that's what it all comes down to. The entire future of Iran is hanging on this single, stark choice. Is this the moment that people finally break through and usher in a new era? Or is this going to be another tragedy, followed by a terrible, state-sanctioned revenge? The world is holding its breath.